everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll see how to migrate the existing Prometheus monitoring workloads to Google Cloud. In this lab, we'll be deploying the managed service for Prometheus, create a self-managed data collection for scraping the metrics, and use Grafana to query Prometheus metrics data. So let's start the lab. You can activate Cloud Shell, open a new window. Now it's active. So let's go back. So let's proceed with task 1. First we will deploy the GKE cluster. So first we will be creating a cluster with this name and with the nodes, with 3 nodes, and in US East 4 A zone. So this is pretty straightforward. First we'll create a cluster. Okay, first let's set the project. For project value, copy this project ID. So once that is done, let's create a cluster. So now the cluster is created. Once the cluster is created, we need to authenticate to the cluster by executing this command gcloud container clusters get credential, and we need to pass the cluster name and the zone where this cluster is created. So let's copy this, execute it here. So it will generate a kubeconfig entry. So once that is done, we'll create a namespace by this name. Here ns means namespace. So now the namespace is created. Next we will deploy the application. This application will emit Prometheus metrics on its metrics port. So here kubectl-n namespace apply-f. So it is using the raw YAML file here. So you can copy this YAML file to see what is defined inside this YAML file. So you can go through this configuration. So here we are deploying the application with a 3 replica set, and for this application we are collecting the metrics, so that we have defined it here. So let's copy this. You can click on copy. So now it is created. So this deployment is created. You can run kubectl get deployments -n. So here you need to pass the namespace name. So now you can see this prom example, it is ready and it is having 3 replicas. So once done, we need to deploy the Prometheus. So to ingest a metric, we need to deploy the Prometheus. So this prometheus.yaml file will contain the configuration required for this. So let's copy this. So it has created cluster role, RBAC authorization. Next it has created this role binding, and it has created this service by this name Prometheus test. It has created this stateful set. All this got created. So whatever we have defined in this YAML file, so that you can find it here, prometheus.yaml. So here we have defined RBAC authorization cluster role. Then we have defined this cluster role binding, service account. So we are creating a service account, and the stateful set. So whatever we have defined in this YAML file, it creates those services. So when you execute this kubectl get service, you find this Prometheus-test. We have created this service. So let's head back. So we have executed this to ingest a metric. Next, let's check this if the deployment was successful by executing this command kubectl -n namespace and get pod. So we are fetching the pod details by executing this. Let's copy this. So here you can see this is running. Next we need to verify if we can see the metrics by using the Prometheus metrics API. For that, let's first export the project ID by executing this command. Post that we will run the curl command. Copy this. We should get this message. Next we will forward the port to see the Prometheus metrics UI. So we are using the port forward and forwarding the port to see the Prometheus metric UI. So let's copy this. So it's forwarding from this to 1990. Here click on web preview, change port to 1990. You can click on this Prometheus, we have deployed it. You can click on check my progress. Next we will deploy the Grafana. Open the new Cloud Shell tab to run the below commands. So next we are deploying the Grafana. So in Cloud Shell, let's click on new tab. Here we will be cloning this prometheus.git. So let's copy this. Now do ls cd to this. So we need to execute this command to deploy the Grafana kubectl -n namespace, and this is the YAML file. Grafana.yaml file contains all the configuration. So here you can copy this. So this is a raw GitHub file. So this contains a configuration details. You can go through this. We are deploying the Grafana dashboard and we are exposing the service as well. So let's copy this, execute it here. So you can see the deployment is created and also the service got created. Once that is done, let's forward the port to see the Grafana UI. So for that, we are forwarding the port to this. So let's copy this, execute it here. So here under web preview, change port. Here you need to give 3001, change and preview. Now you should be able to see the Grafana dashboard. So we can see this Grafana dashboard. So the username will be admin and the password will be admin for this. Login. You can skip that. You can log in with the provided username and password. This is how the Grafana dashboard looks like. Next, let's configure the data source to query manage service for Prometheus in Grafana by using the Prometheus UI as the authentication proxy. You must add new data source to Grafana. To add a data source for the managed service, do the following. So in Grafana dashboard, we need to add a new data source here. So click on this, click on data source. Under configuration, click on data source, click on add data source. Need to select the Prometheus, click on select. So here we need to configure this, and for URL, so copy this URL and provide it here. So our front end we have configured at port 1990. So once you provide the URL here, scroll down and here under HTTP method it should be get. So click on save and test. Now the data source is updated and data source is working. Let's proceed with task 8, Grafana chart. You can now create Grafana dashboard using the new data source. You can also redirect existing dashboard to the new data source. So here you can click on dashboard. You can click on add an empty panel. So you can select the metrics and create a dashboard. So this is how you create it. So now we have completed this. So in this lab we saw how to deploy the managed service for Prometheus, then create a self-managed data collection for scraping metrics and use Grafana to query the Prometheus metrics data. So once you complete all the tasks in this lab, you can click on End Lab. So this is how we can configure Grafana with the Prometheus. So if you found my video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel and stay up to date with the latest content on this channel. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video.